Well, hello. So back again for more mini LED fun. I think, all right, I don't want to jinx this. I kind of feel like, though, I have to say, I kind of think I figured it out. And I have to apologize because I kind of maybe figured this out over the weekend at like 1 in the morning. But I think what that means for us tonight is that we will be building a Fig complete with a nice base that looks great, with a battery compartment, with an LED in a staff of a wizard, this wizard to be exact. And how do I know that this might work? And why do I feel so confident about it? Well, because I made a prototype. Ooh. Yeah, so I made this on late Saturday night. I was painting up this mini to go to a game on Sunday, and I was like, you know what? To hell with it. I'm going to try to put the LED in there. I'm going to try a couple of things that I thought about for the base. And I'm very happy with how this came out. There's a battery compartment underneath here where you can literally just pull out the battery. And it's nice and neat and clean and about as small as you can get while still having a battery in there. So yeah, we're going to try and see if we can make that happen tonight. But first, let me talk a little bit about where we've been for those who haven't seen the stream before. So we started out with this guy. This was the prototype, first one we made on the first stream for making minis. And you know, it's funny, there's one thing that happens when you start doing research like this, and it happens to me all the time, and I still fall for it. You know, after that first stream, I built this like, well, you know, I feel like I'm, with a few tweaks, this will be done. It'll be good to go. Well, we are now on the 4th stream. And why is that? Well, because the devil's in the details. But I will say what I take away from this experience is, and I have had this experience several times before, is if you're going to try to do something new, you're always going to hit stumbling blocks. And the trick is to keep going. And sometimes keeping going means putting it aside for a few days and not thinking about it, because that can be productive too, instead of just spinning your wheels. But what this led to was a couple of stumbles. First one was this. We were trying to get around the problem of this not staying closed, and this whole idea of a gravity switch wasn't working very well. So I made this compartment that had a lid, and it closed together. But it's a little wonky, like it didn't really fit in there all that well. But the big takeaway from this one that went into the final version is this coil of wire in here. Now, the way it was implemented in here was not all that great and not very repeatable. But look, it had its promising bits, and that was this ring of wire, and we're gonna get back to that. And then I started thinking about how can you make this base look a little nicer, look a little bit more consistent, and I ended up making this one, which was layers of cardboard, and boy, did this look ugly. And the idea was to build up something on the outside that was more durable than just foam, which was what this was. I mean, I had the right idea, I think. I just had a really poor implementation. You can also see the battery's off center, so it's not that great. So what we did last stream was we built this guy. And I was relatively happy with him. But if you look at him compared to a regular base size, it's bigger, right? So it's not the 1 inch wide, which was one of the design goals. It looks a little wonky. It's like not very round. And when you look at the bottom of it, there's just a lot of space in there, and the glue is a little bit weird. And then I started thinking about something. I had bought some sculpting clay, and I was sort of starting to think about, like, you know, not that you would do the sculpting clay, but it got me thinking about it. You know, the best thing would be to do is if you could pour a mold. And I was like, well, most people I know don't have equipment or the skills to make a mold and to pour a mold. So I went back to what I usually do, which is I go back to thinking about what everybody has and what's at the Dollar Tree and the tools that every crafter worth their salt has. So I went back to the basics, masking tape, hot glue, and a couple of other things that we're going to recycle from the box that we bought the minis in. But the magic ingredient of this entire thing is going to blow your mind, is this very rare item. Scotch tape roll. Why? Okay, so this is the thing. This was the major breakthrough. I found out a way that I can actually make a mold relatively easily out of this and just a couple of other things. And it's because of one magic fact. And that fact is that the inside of this, the inside ring of this, fits a 1-inch wide mini base with just a little bit of room around the outside. And that little bit of room is exactly what we need to make this work. So we will be making a mold out of this and some mini bases and some batteries as spacers, and also as a jig to hold on our little metal connector. So to give you an idea what the finish looked like, this is actually it. Now tonight we are going to try to improve on this a little bit. If you notice, it's kind of tall, and part of that is because excuse me. Part of that was because I was trying to figure out a good way to connect the wires underneath the actual base of the Mini that it came with, because all Minis sort of have this little mini base on there. And it got kind of thick because I put a lot of hot glue on there, and it was a pain in the neck to get it off, and I was afraid it was going to ruin the base, so I just sort of said, oh, you know what, the heck with it. I'll just put it on there and deal with it being a little thicker. But I feel like we can try to get a little thinner tonight. So we're going to try to do something similar with this Mini. We are going to remove this staff arm here and replace it with something else, and then we're going to drill into this the glass bit up here and put the LED hopefully right in the middle. That might be interesting. But I was kind of able to do it with this one, so I feel like it's okay. But you can see this one's a little off-center. So yeah, so we're going to do that today. And the great thing about this is this base is really nice and solid. The battery comes out, so you can actually store it without keeping it on. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the mini base that this Mini came from as the battery compartment lid. And that makes it really easy to pull the battery out. And if you want to replace the battery, all you do is pull this off and hot glue on another one. So I don't think it can get much easier than that. And for the base here, you'll notice the LED is up in here, and the wires spiral around the staff itself and then go down through the Mini and connect to the coil around the outside here and the wire in the middle. And those coils that I'm talking about are these guys. If you haven't seen, if you didn't see the last video, I'll just kind of tell you quickly how you make these. They're really, really easy. You buy wire from the dollar store. It looks like this, and it's got no insulation on it. The bottom half does, the top half doesn't. But we're just more concerned about the bottom half. And what you do is you basically take a little lead of this out, and you loop it around, and then on a drill with a hook on it, you spin it up. And it basically makes wire rope, kind of like this. So check out the previous video. I do that pretty extensively in there. I'm not going to go through that again today to waste your time, but the end product is basically a straight version of this that you then bend around a jig that I'll show you in a second. So we are going to go through the start to finish. First I'm going to show you the pieces of the mold and how we are going to make sure you can actually get your base out of the mold. That was another interesting trick. But first, let me show you the separate pieces of it. Obviously, this is the magic bit right here. And then we have, if I can find it now. Oh yeah, there we go. There's two pieces. One is this guy. So you will have to sacrifice 2 mini bases for this. I think it's kind of worth it. That's just me. And we're going to use I use some old dead batteries. We're going to use 4 of them as spacers to set how deep this sits in our battery. It sits in our tape roll here. Now on top of this, we're going to have this other jig. Now this looks a little messy because I've used it a few times, but it has basically, it's got a battery glued on top of 1 sheet of cardboard and on top of this mini base. And this will define where our little coil will sit in our mold. Kind of like this. So this ensures that that little coil piece is at the right depth to hold the battery in place in our compartment when we actually build it. This is going to be pointing down like this. So it makes sure that the depth of the actual coils is correct to accept a battery and hold it in place. So then what we do is we take these 2 bits, oops, and we're going to pour some hot glue into here. And then we stick the wires of the connector. We're going to stick it through that little hole there. And then we're going to squeeze it down pretty hard to get all the excess glue out. Wait 5 minutes, pull it out, or I'd rather push it out, and take it apart, and we'll have a little mold. We'll have a little base ready to go. So now a lot of you who have done any kind of casting will go, What's your mold release? Mold release, mold release. Yeah, I've never really done a lot of casting, so I went through and made a lot of mistakes. Hey, look, here's one that I didn't have mold release on. Yeah, so this is now one fused piece that I'll never be able to use for anything. Yay. But, again, I don't want anybody to go out and buy mold release just for this. I want it to be common things. So this is probably going to be the most uncommon material that I'm going to add to the list, but I do think you can get it at the Dollar Tree. I'm not totally sure. I think it's so. I think I've seen it there. It's called either parchment paper or baking paper. I got my roll from Costco, so I have a metric ton of it, and I'm only going to need literally a few square inches of this stuff. But it's great because, oh, and I need to say, you may think this is equivalent to wax paper. It is not. Wax paper will be a nightmare for this because it's basically paper with some coating of wax on, and that wax will melt and it will be a nightmare. But this stuff, hot glue has a really tough time sticking to, so this is what we're going to use as our mold release, which means we're going to wrap a few different pieces of our mold in this. Okay, so let's get started with that. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to recycle some parts from here. I'm not going to go through making these little bits here. I'm just going to go through and kind of talk about what I use from here. But we will be using the plastic part of the box. I'm going to take these out of here. And of course you use the mini bases too. We're going to use one for the battery compartment lid. But actually you don't need another one. You only need one per thing because we're going to use cardboard for the top where the mini sits on. So we're going to use this, and we're going to use this to make a liner for the inside of here to add the wax paper to. Now remember I was saying it's actually really perfect how this has a little bit of a gap in there. Well, what else is perfect is when you use the plastic that comes on the with the minis, it's the perfect thickness when you put the parchment paper on there with it to actually get a great seal. And you want to make it 1 inch deep, and the easiest way to, or 1 inch, it's a 1 inch strip basically. And the easiest way to do that is just to sacrifice a little bit of masking tape, put this wherever you want, and then just use that as your cutting guide. I'm just going to rough cut it first. Cut this off here, this off here. And then just follow the line of the tape on the side. And then once you've got that, you don't have to, actually I'm just going to square off this one end here. That's good enough. I'm going to take the tape off. Just like that. And then all we need to do is put it in here. We're going to kind of pre-roll it a little bit so it gets a little used to that shape. And plop it in there. Make sure it's laying nice and flat. And you'll see there's some overlap there. We're going to get rid of the little bit of extra. There's always going to be a little bit. Actually, let me make sure that's... Okay, my right and my good corner is the one on the right. Or my good squared off edge is on the right. I'm going to put this in here. And I'm going to take a Sharpie just to mark off what that little bit that I need to cut off. So I'm just going to draw across it because the part that doesn't have any Sharpie on it will be the excess part, essentially, because it'll be underneath the flap. Take that out. I'm just going to cut that. Let's just make sure that fits good. Just like that. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to take and put some parchment paper on it. And I'm just kind of going to rough cut this to size. You want to have it be like 1.5 inches roughly, maybe more like 2 inches. It doesn't really matter all that much. Now, you can't tape this to anything. You can't adhere it to there, but there is this nice property of the fact, due to the fact that this is going to be curled up. So in it being curled up, it's going to hold the paper on there on its own. So what we're going to do is we're literally just going to kind of wrap this like you would a gift. Actually, I'm going to take a little bit more of this off because that's a whole lot of extra. And I don't want to have it get too thick. That. Yeah, that's better. This way it can get on there. Just like that and like that. And then I'm just going to bend it so it'll kind of hold it in place while I cut off the excess. And we'll do the other side. Just like that. Now, all we've got to do is put this in our form. Now we want to put it in with the parchment paper. I'm going to say wax paper at least a dozen times, but it is parchment paper or baking paper. Okay, so we're going to put the side in that has full parchment paper on it. So that's on the inside of the tape roll here. Just like that. Okay, so now we've got our sleeve. And then we just have to put some wax paper around, I did it again. Some parchment paper around this. And we are going to use a little bit of tape for that. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot that we're actually going to put some parchment paper on here as well. And that's just to sort of make it easier to clean up. You can see here I did it once without the parchment paper on it, and I got some hot glue in there, so kind of a pain in the neck. So we're going to take another sheet of this, another piece of this, kind of rough cut a big old square out. In this case, we are going to use masking tape to hold it in place just while we sort of get it, you know, assembled correctly. And I'm not going to rely on the tape adhering to the parchment paper, but I am going to rely on it adhering to itself. So I'm going to wrap it around. And this can be sloppy, it doesn't matter all that much. Like that. And then I do it in the other direction. Like this. Nope, it's got a little too short. Oh, no, she just, there we go. Okay, and then you just sort of kind of roll the sides, and then we're going to put a band of masking tape around the outside. And I'm going to start it on the masking tape that I already got on there, just to make it easy. I'm going to try to be a little tight with this. Like that. Okay, there we go. Now we can take this masking tape off. Find my knife. Where's my knife? Where'd my knife go? Where's my knife? See, if I wasn't live right now, it would be right in front of me. Actually, you know what? I'll just use this. That's fine. And I'm just going to cut out the center. Don't have to be all that delicate with this either. This is kind of more about catching as much of the overflow of hot glue as you can. Okay, take that off, take that off, that off. And I guarantee I'm looking at my knife right now, and it's probably like right in front of me, but as my wife will attest to, I am absolutely and utterly blind when it comes to finding things. And we're going to take it off of both ends because we're going to take our mold, the mold pieces, and push them through after they're dry. So we want to make sure we have the ability to do that. Take that out of there. Okay, not pretty, but that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so let's put that sleeve back in there. Like this. All right, that looks pretty good. Ready to go. Get rid of this. Now all we gotta do is wrap these guys. Now you'll notice on this one, this is the one that goes on the bottom, there is this hole for two reasons. One, to put the lead through that is going to connect to our LEDs up here on the top, and also to have an opening for excess hot glue to squeeze out through. And we will wrap this again. We will also wrap this in some parchment paper, but we want to make sure we remember where that hole is there, and that's always kind of a little bit of a pain in the neck. It's kind of like you got to kind of hunt around for it a little bit. For this I'll go pretty big because I'm going to end up cutting off a lot of it anyway. It's just easier to handle if you have a kind of a big piece that you can wrap around. Like this. And then, oh, you know, we can kind of see it. There it is. I'm going to do it while I can see it, but I'm going to punch a hole in it with this push pin. Just like that. And I'm going to push it out through. I'm going to leave it in there for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap some tape around this, kind of pressure tighten it around the parchment paper. Kind of hold it in place. Like that. Now, by the way, when you put this parchment paper on there, it's like you don't have to do this for every single casting. You can leave these on there. Sometimes for the top piece, it can get a little wonky, and you might have to replace it. It just kind of all depends on how the hot glue flows. But this bottom one, like once you put it on here, as long as you kind of clean it off between castings, it'll be fine. I'm going to cut off the excess of this. Because remember, you want to make sure that it's down flat and flush with the bottom of this battery here, because that sets the depth and the overall height of our mini base. Okay, one last piece to go. Now this one I've been toying with putting more batteries or some other holder up here, because right now what I do is I pull on the paper to get it out, and sometimes it does rip. If we have more time, I might kind of explore that, but for right now I kind of want to get going on the casting because I think this is pretty cool. Alright, another big old piece of parchment paper. This one I'm going to leave long because I'm going to use it as a handle. Just like that. Kind of mold it a little bit. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pressure fit. Oh, that's actually the right term. We're going to wrap the end in some masking tape. And that should stay there because we're wrapping the masking tape around itself. Now it's a good idea to test fit all this stuff before you pour the hot glue. I've done that too. And then you're wasting time and stuff doesn't fit. That's always fun. Okay, so now we've got our pieces. We've got this guy here. I'm also going to see if I can have this whole... Maybe I'm going to try to see if I can get this to go out the side. I don't want to have it go inside this masking tape bit because I feel like it's going to bind up with the wire when I go through it. It's already a little iffy. Let's see if I can find another needle that doesn't have a lot of hot glue on it. There's one. There we go. Yeah, so now it's on the outside. So hopefully with this, what'll happen is the wire for the coil will go on the outside as well. And it'll have less resistance, so it'll be easier to get in there. And if there is any hot glue that goes through, it'll go on the outside and not inside here, which would become more messy to clean up. That's kind of the only bad thing. It's not a lot, but you know, every little bit of time counts. Okay, so now I'm going to try to see how this fits in here. And it's probably going to be pretty tight. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll pop this out like halfway and put it in like that, and then turn it over and squeeze it down. There you go. Flush on the bottom, good to go. And I'm going to put this needle back in there because that'll hold the position for that hole and make sure that I know where it is and keep a little bit of hot glue from going in there. Okay, so then we have our loop here, and we are going to attach this. Oh, I did this wrong. I did it the wrong way. I got to turn this around. Whoops, that would have been interesting. Okay, hold on. Yeah, see what I did here? I actually, this is the part that has to go down because that has to hold the coil, and I did it upside down. So let's do that again. Clearly this is not scripted. Okay. There we go. That's pretty good. We'll do the same thing with the masking tape. I gotta tell you, I'm like so excited to get past this because I really want to build this mini. And I feel like at this point I just gotta kind of get past this stuff and show you guys how to do it so we can actually make a really cool mini. Alright, let's see how that goes. Nice. Okay, so now that I've done it correctly, theoretically, we're going to put this guy on here. And I like to push it in a little bit because you want to have that paper, the parchment paper, kind of conform to the shape of our little jig here. And this also keeps from having a lot of cleanup later where hot glue will get on the inside edge of this band. You don't really want that because then it'll be harder to have a connection with the battery. I mean, you can get rid of it. It's just, you know, the more prep time you do now, the less work you'll have later. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick test fit of this too because I want to make sure everything goes well. That's seating pretty well. So there you go. So this is the final mold. Looks kind of funky, but it's kind of neat when you think about it. This is a roll of Scotch tape, some batteries, some mini bases, and some parchment. Pretty happy about that. I always love being able to show you guys things that I know that any crafter out there can do. And by the way, we are still not going to be soldering anything. Another good thing, so you don't have to buy any special tools. All right, so let's try this. It's always like when you're going live and like you have to do this in front of people. I've definitely noticed that when it's midnight and I try to do this stuff, everything goes great, but then I get on the stream and things go a little differently. So, you know, say a prayer or something, you know, whatever, cross your fingers. So, okay, so we're gonna pour some hot glue in here. Now the idea is we wanna make sure that all the hot glue kind of evenly covers the entire bottom, which means we wanna make sure it gets in these creases here and also behind the needle. And you wanna have probably about that much, like 1/8 of an inch about. Don't worry if you put too much in. The only downside to putting too much in is you have to put more pressure on this. More is gonna seep out of the sides. Again, please hold your top piece of the mold by the handle so you don't get hot glue on yourself because that hurts. If you are not a grown-up, don't do this. Get some grown-up supervision. I would assume you'd have to have grown-up supervision anyway for a hot glue gun. I hope so, at least. If you were family with me, you would have to. Okay, so we're gonna fill this up a little bit, and you'll notice I'll kind of do it around the outside edge here because I want to make sure that I get it all the way to the edge. The inside, the middle sort of takes care of itself as it flows out. Okay, so there we go. You can kind of see it's sort of like halfway filled up to the top of our sleeve. Now here's the trick. We want to pull this guy out, but we want to make sure we don't forget where that hole is. And this is always kind of fun. So here we go. So I usually kind of put it, kind of rough position it right where the hole is. Pull that guy out, put that guy in. Oh, that was pretty successful. And now we're going to push. And you're going to feel when that battery that's part of this top piece hits bottom. And that's good. And even better is if you see a little bit of hot glue seeping out, and I just did. Yep, that's good. That means it's theoretically full. So there we go. Okay, well, now the fun begins. Now we wait 5 minutes. But in the meantime, so basically you wait 5 minutes, you can set a timer, and I think I actually will do that. So we don't waste any time. Wake me in 5 minutes.
Setting.
By the way, I really like the wake me function better than set a timer.
2 p.m.
Because when you say wake me to Siri, it makes you turn it off. I think the timer also is quieter, and sometimes it just turns off on its own. I never hear it. Okay, so we're going to put this aside for a second, and let's talk about this guy a little bit. So this is the guy we're going to be adding an LED to, and I think this is going to be. I think I'm going to put a green LED in this one because I put a red one in the last one. Why not, right? And if you haven't seen these guys, they still amaze me. They are little tiny, 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 tiny LEDs. And the wires attached to them are like literally the thickness of a human hair. So really tiny stuff. Let me show you how it looks. But it's incredibly bright considering that it's literally 1 millimeter across, which is insane to me. I still can't get over it. By the way, there are links to these at GameGearMaster.com. You can go to any of the current live streams that are there, and you'll see, you can scroll down underneath the video when it's playing. It'll show you links on Amazon where you can get all this stuff. These, as of the making of this video, were $12.99 or 12 bucks, I can't remember, for 20 of them. And that's with delivery from China. And they come relatively fast too, considering. And I've never had a bad one. They've always worked. They seem pretty durable too. I can put hot glue on them, they don't break. And they are surprisingly bright. There you go. And when you put that in a mini, or like when you put it in something like translucent like this, it really kind of brings it to life, especially when you put it inside, which we're going to do today. So yeah, so this is the basic assembly. We have a battery and we have this LED. So here's the thing. I started really thinking a lot about when I was making this guy. I was like, this staff can't be this kind of wonky. I always hate how these are really wonky like this anyway, you know, like because they're plastic and they're melted and they don't keep their shape very well. It always breaks the illusion to me. So we're gonna get rid of it. And I was like, okay, well, what is a stiff, off-the-shelf, cheap thing that I can use in its place? Well, I was at the checkout line at Dollar Tree and I looked down and there's a sewing kit complete with like 40 needles and like 30 pins. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. So what did I bought my little self a sewing kit that I will never use to repair anything, but I will use these amazing needles that are in there. And that's enough for, I mean, you know, 30 minis if I want to make different staffs. So I'm going to see if I can find one that's going to be roughly the same size as this. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is, in the interest of hiding the wires, I could do two things. One, I could take and wind them around here, kind of walk them down the back of his hand, or I could drill through his hand into his cloak. Or I could move his arm so he's holding the staff straight down like this guy is. And I think what I'm going to do, because it's going to be more durable, is reposition his hand or reposition his arm and then make the staff go down through the mini. I did something similar to this here. I actually cut the guy's arm off here and repositioned it so he was holding the staff. In the original mini, he wasn't holding anything in his hand. It was just holding, he was just kind of like balancing himself or something with it. So we're gonna do that while we wait for this guy to finish. I'm gonna cut off this staff and we're gonna see about drilling through his, actually, you know what? I'm gonna cut off the staff first and then we're gonna reposition his arm and see how that looks. And that'll determine a lot more about what we do next. Now, you don't wanna use snips to cut these bits off because the snips have a habit of crimping the ends. And you definitely want to have as smooth an end as possible. They have like the zero profile snips you can get for model making, but I don't have those. Most people don't either. But I do have very sharp utility knife blades. So I'm going to grab one of those. Oh, okay, hold on. That's my alarm for the mold. So let's do that first. That kind of went fast. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to push it down through the bottom. Just like that. And you can see all right off the bat, this comes off easily, no problem. So there you go, you can see the hot glue and you can see we've got a little bit of overspill. We're gonna get rid of that. Oh, I made a mistake. I forgot the cardboard. That's okay, we can fix it. How do I, is that on the top or the bottom? On the bottom. I forgot a very important component, but we can be able to fix this. Now you see how this comes off really easily, no problem. Hey, guess what? You're gonna see how we can fix one when you screw it up too. I'm gonna leave the top on for now because you'll see what I'm missing in a second here. Okay. I'm also gonna make sure that this is cleared out so when I do it again, I forgot the top of the base. I'd cut like cardboard pieces for it ahead of time. It was going to be really amazing when I pull it out of the mold. And of course I screwed it up. But hey, you know, live TV folks, what are you going to do? Oh well. So I cut these ahead of time. This is just cardboard from the box itself. You know, recycling one out, right? And we're going to put that here. That's what I should have done in the beginning, in the mold. Well, let's put this back together here. Like that. Oops, kind of coming off a little bit there. Put that like that. Yeah, so I'm going to put this in here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the needle. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try this first to see if I can get this lined up right. Oh, I got to get some of the hot glue out of there. This is the only kind of nurgly bit to this, is the hot glue that comes through here. It can make it more difficult to do subsequent castings. And I don't have a really good solution to this just yet, other than taking a drill and drilling that again. By the way, this is just the thinnest. It's a 1/16" bit that comes in every single drill thing you get from Home Depot. If you have a drill bit, if you have a drill, you have a set that has this drill bit, I'm sure. There we go. Yeah, so what I forgot to do was actually put the top of the base on here. And that's fine because we can reattach with just a little bit of hot glue and it'll be perfect. I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to kind of hold it in place, and then I'm going to use my push pin to punch a hole through here. See if I can get that in there. There we go. Oh, and usually what I do is I put it on a piece of film so I can just turn it over like this. I say usually what I do. It sounds like I've made 100 of these, but I really haven't. I think in my brain I have, though. Okay, so there's a hole. I'm going to turn it over and kind of make that hole a little bit bigger. Like that. Make sure that works like that. There you go. Okay, so that's going to be the bottom of our base, the top of our base rather. So let me just put this back in there. This won't need that long to dry, just like a minute or so, because everything else is done. We're just going to put a little bit of hot glue down once we have the cardboard put in place. Okay, looks good. And we're going to want to put it over that hole, and we're going to put our push pin in there. Just like that. There we go. Push that down all the way around. All right. Now I just want to make sure that that is not too much resistance to get this guy in there. Oh, he's gonna go. Good. Okay. So I'm just gonna put a little bit around the outside edge because I don't need a whole lot. And I don't want to thicken this up too much. Oh, hold on. I'm going to put this back in there. And this will reactivate the hot glue that's on there already. So we don't need a whole lot. We just need the heat from this glue and a little bit of time. Come on, baby. Managed to collapse one of the walls on the side there, but I think it's going to be okay because I'm not relying on this to keep any of the hot glue really in place all that much. I think it'll be all right. There we go. Give that a second. All right, let's pop this out. See what we did. There we go. All right, we got the base on there. Bingo. Great. Now we just got to get the bottom off. Now it's going to be harder now because it's been more than 5 minutes. So I may have a little bit of a struggle on my hands. Let's see. What I'm going to first try to do is see if I can get started with my nail here. Nope, you know what I'm going to do? This is the plastic bit with the wax paper on. I'm just going to cut it off here, just like this. There we go. Let's see what we do. Now this might cut the parchment paper off too. Yeah, I had a feeling. Okay. There we go. All right. Let me just take the parchment paper out of here. Remember I said that sometimes you have to redo the top. This is one of those reasons because sometimes you have to cut it out. All right. Get the paper out of there. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's try to fit a battery in there. Hey, look at that. Not bad. It's going the right way. Just gonna pop it out again. All right, cool. So there's one base. Now you can kind of clean this up a little bit. Just kind of take off a little raggedy bits here. Sometimes it won't sit totally level, so you just want to kind of look at that too. Well, it's looking pretty good. Okay, so now all we need to do is add the other lead in the middle somewhere. We don't actually even have to do that right now, but let's put that aside. So now we have one base. It doesn't look like a whole lot yet, but it's going to look kind of like this pretty soon. Put this aside. And put these guys over here. Alright, well now it's time to do some surgery on a mini. We are going to cut off that staff. Now I'm going to use this razor. You can use a utility knife, blade, and just something to cut onto. You don't want to sort of have it like floating like this and put a lot of pressure on the mini. You want to make sure that what you're cutting is well supported. And we're going to cut as close to his hand as we can there. Just like that. And that's garbage. And then we're going to do this guy. Just like that. That's not too bad. And we don't need this excess on here. We just need this top bit. And all these little loose parts, put it in something before you lose them. I usually like to take a little paint cup. This stuff has a tendency just to disappear. Okay, so now we're going to try to drill through his hand. Depending on how this goes, I'm going to leave it attached to this now because this is just in and of itself is a good sort of holder for the hand, and I'll reposition it afterwards if we decide to do that. Now this is the one thing that you are going to need to buy about 10 bucks worth of drill bits for, if you're going to do this type of an addition to the mini. Because this hand is so small, you need a really small drill bit. And those drill bits that I used were from this kit of tiny drill bits. I think it was $10. There is a link to this on my site at GameGearMaster.com. I think it was 10 bucks. And it comes with a whole lot of drill bits. And it comes with this hand drill, which is great in theory, but I quickly realized that it is a lot of work to drill into these minis. They're surprisingly hard. So what I did instead was I adapted these really tiny drill bits to my big drill. How did I do that? Well, with masking tape. The cure-all, almost as good as duct tape. So you can see here I have a few different sizes. We're going to start at the absolute smallest one because we want to make sure that first hole is good and is in the right place, or right enough. You're never going to get perfect. So put that in the guy here. And yeah, the masking tape does a great job of holding it and making it just thick enough to get in the chuck and stay in the chuck. So there you go. I figured that off camera, didn't I? Hold on. That's what it looks like with the masking tape on there. And this chuck is just a little bit, it can't accept a bit this small because it's just so tiny. But with masking tape on there, it's perfect. And you can see it sort of oscillates a little bit, back and forth, but yeah, it's all right. And again, we're going to lay it down in our work area. Now with this, I'm going to also take my pin and I'm going to put a little notch that I'm hoping that the bit will be able to grab onto to start. Otherwise it may walk around on the figure and I may not get a good start onto that hole. So again, I'm going to use my little wood piece here, always supporting it. And I'm also going to take and magnify this because my nearsightedness is not great. Okay, so that's my best estimate as to the middle of where that staff was. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we've already started the hole. Now we just need to get it all the way through with our drill. And this is something you want to do that's pretty slow. You're going to lay the drill down so you don't have to hold it, and you're going to feed the mini into the drill bit. And you don't want to have it be going too fast in the beginning. In fact, you probably want to seat it first. You can feel it kind of notched in there because of that push pin that I just used on there. And you want to make sure as you're going that you keep it on track. In fact, I might hold it this way so I can see. So I can see the plane of his hand and if that's in line with the drill bit. I can find the little hole that I started first. There it is. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to start slow. Keep an eye on it. You also, after a while, you probably want to pull out the mini from the drill bit because there'll be a little bit of, this melts the mini as, this melts the plastic in the mini as much as it does to actually cut it. So what'll happen is you'll get these long tendrils that'll smear all over the drill bit, and you may have to clear them out. Otherwise, you just won't do anything other than heat up the mini and possibly melt the hand. Go back in there. You see I'm going pretty slow, but better slow than to mess it up. Now that I got a little ways in there, try that again. What happened? Let me see that hole again here. I might have to reposition it a little bit. It seems like the drill bit jumped. So we need to reestablish that hole in there. Okay, let's try one more time. Now I'm going to kind of turn it a little bit because you see it's sort of walking out. I'm going to try it from the other side because I may not be able to continue the hole on that side. Okay, try this one more time. This is not the ideal direction to do this in, but it should be all right. Let's see. Now watch my thumb. I gotta be really careful because I'm actually in the path of the drill bit. So I gotta be a little careful. There we go. One hole for a staff. Now we're going to have to probably widen this out. I'm 99% sure of that. But I'm going to take it and see if I can get a little bit more material out just with this bit. Because what will happen is, since this got hot as it drilled, it'll squeeze back closed. So going through it again a few times is good. Yep. Come on now. Yeah, it's already close up again. Let's see. Or maybe I'm just not getting it right. That's interesting. Let me see. It might literally melt it back together. It's still there. It's just hard to... Wow, that's crazy. I think it literally melted back together. Alright. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to leave the bit in there while it cools. That should do the trick. Let's see, I think I have to just drill it again. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's hard to get in there. There we go. Yeah, it definitely... Okay, so I'm going to leave it on there to cool a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to pull out a needle. One of these duties. What do you call it a duty? One of these guys. I think I'm going to err on thinner. That's probably pretty good. And we're going to cut off the pointy bit. This part up here we're going to actually use for the LED, so we're not going to cut out that bit there. We're actually going to use that loop, I think, to seat the LED. So let me just cut off the end of this. Now I'm going to leave as much as I can because I don't know how much I'm going to need yet. And with these little bits, like, you really want to make sure you cover your hand so you can actually grab that little bit, because you don't want that floating around, especially if you have pets. You don't want that to get in their paws or in your foot or whatever. So what I like to usually do is I like to do it over like a bowl, so the bowl will catch it. And I can tell you that I caught it because I felt it hit my ring finger. So yeah, definitely don't want to have that stuff flying around. Okay, there we go. Now let's see how this guy's doing. This one there. They may not fit. We may have to widen it out a little bit. No, it's gonna fit. Why is this hole so wonky? I can never seem to find the hole. Oh, it's over there. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So that does work. But I can already tell if we're going to do the wires all the way down to there, it's not going to work because it's not going to be thick enough. And the hole is off center so much that I don't think I want to even risk. I don't think I'm going to reposition the arm. I think what I'm going to do is try to run the wires somewhere. What's the best way to do that? So there's a couple of considerations. One, whatever I drill out, I want it not to be too obvious. But if I'm going to be able to drill it, I also need to take into consideration how long the drill bits are that I use to drill. So there's a couple of things I got to think about here. Okay, maybe come up through the foot and come out here. Well, let's first build the staff and see where that leaves us. Because I don't want to rush into any decisions with this until I know a little bit more about how the staff looks and that stuff. So again, this little part here, I'm going to put back in here with our other piece of the staff, and then we're going to drill out the center of this guy. Now this is going to be a tough one, but I think we're going to be able to do it. I hope so, at least. We'll see. First time for everything. And I just want to find, there was a bottom to this. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Now I will say that this may not work. It's gonna be, either it will or it won't, but I do have an alternative to not even using this top that I'm pretty confident in, but I do want to see if we can get this done. I do want to see if we can actually do this. So now again, with this, as like the other things, when you're using drills and power tools, safety first. If you don't have experience with this kind of stuff, you probably don't want to be messing with this. But I will be showing, I'm going to be doing a video on a much easier light to do. This is sort of the most difficult one that I can think of to do right now, at least, other than doing multiple lights, which are also coming. Okay, so I got a pretty good divot in there. So I'm going to widen it out a little bit. Looks pretty good. Alright, let's see what we can do with this. Now I'm holding it so I can actually see the thinnest plane, which is the ring in the middle. And I want to make sure, because that's going to be the hardest to get through without destroying anything. See those tendrils coming out? That's what I was talking about. Now I'm going to start looking at this angle so I can make sure I'm going into the center. And that's looking pretty good. Getting there. Now obviously I'm holding this where the drill is going into, so I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this because I want to make sure that I don't hurt myself. Although I will say these little tiny drill bits, they do very little. They don't really have a whole lot of cutting power. But it's still always better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, I'm going to pull it out and put it back in right away. See that tendril? I want to get that out of there, because what will happen is it'll re-dry in the hole and just gum it up. Alright, we're close to the middle now. And I can feel it's catching, which means it's hot, so I'm going to let it sit there on the drill bit, and then we'll mess with it a little bit more in a second. While that's cooling, I'm going to try, I say try because this needle is very, very tiny. I'm going to try to thread one of these wires in through the loop in the needle end. And I'm going to do that because it's going to make it a lot easier to position the LED in the staff. You can see it's like I can't even pick up the wires because they're so tiny. There we go. So this is literally threading the needle with a hair. Let's see here. Yep. Going through. Now I just got to be able to pull it through because it's not going to go on its own. I need some tweezers. Give me some tweezers. Where are the tweezers? Hello, tweezers. Oh, come on now. Seriously? Cooperate. So my tweezers are not fine enough to actually literally grab the end of this wire. Try it one more time. Let's see how that looks. There we go. Okay. So this will become the top of the staff. Just like that. Let's keep working on this hole here. Okay. So the limiting factor with this is the width of the LED. So we got to make this wider. It's got to be, I think it's got to be about this wide, which looks like a lot. And we're going to work up to it and try it as we go, because it may not need to be that much. I feel like I have another size in between. Yeah, this one. Gotta find the hole again. There it is. That's looking pretty good. Leave it on there while it cools. Okay. Let's take a look at this guy in the meantime. Let's see how this fits in there. It's probably going to be too tight. But might as well try, see what happens. Actually, you know what I think? I don't think I want to put it on here, because it makes it kind of go in a wonky kind of shape. Let's take it off and just try this, test for this first. Yep, there we go. Oh, I didn't need the big one. And that probably means I can get away with not drilling this wider too. So let's see how this lights up. Let's see how it do. Hold that side. Hold the other side if I can grab this. Moment of truth. Come on now. And I have a dead battery. Oh no, I don't. Hey, look at that. That's working. That's gonna be pretty good. I like a lot. Okay, good. So now what we're gonna do, since we're getting to the point now where we're actually working with it and we're going to be moving it around and we could pull a wire here or something, I'm actually going to temporarily attach this battery, because I want to make sure through every step of the process that this LED still works. I don't want to put this whole thing together only to find out that something happened with the LED. I haven't had that happen yet, but there's a first time for everything. So we're going to do it like that, and then go like this. All right, cool. So now I'm going to test fit the top of this needle. And I want to be really careful that I don't nick either one of those wires. That's pretty good. That is very, very acceptable. Okay, now to attach this, we will yet again use that magic ingredient, hot glue. 1,000,001 uses, folks. 1,000,001 uses. There we go. Let's let that dry for a second. That is pretty cool stuff. So if anybody in chat's got any suggestions as to what to do, I'm all ears. I'm debating still moving the hand though, to be honest with you, or the arm. Or fixing that hole maybe. Well, maybe that's what I do. Let's try that. Or both. Let's see. You know what? I think I'm not going to move the arm. I think it's more of a challenge the other way, and if it works and I've found a way to do it, that'll work for a lot of different minis. Worst case, it looks like crap! Which I don't think it will. But I always like to try to 100% hide that, those wires. And go back to the smaller bit. Try this one more time. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay. Yeah, it looks like when I started drilling from the other side, it actually made two exit holes. Like one's really up on his knuckles and the other one's down here, and I gotta see if I can fix that. I don't have a good solution right now, especially since I can't find my push pin. Oh, there it is. Other than to try to really convince that bit that it wants to go into this hole as opposed to the other one. The problem with that is it keeps popping out because the bottom of the hole is torn out. So what's happening is the bit is jumping. What I may want to try to do is actually literally push the bit in there while it's not moving. Let's try that. Alright, let's see. Promising, maybe. Okay, that's better. I'll let that hang out there for a second. Yeah, so on this one, the battery, as you can see, is this the battery? No, this is the battery. So on this one, this entire top is a piece of hot glue. There's a needle that's holding the LED in place, And the reason it's off center is because it was threaded through the needle to kind of hold it there while the hot glue was going on. But yeah, it's literally just a dab of hot glue and then another dab on top of that to kind of give it a little bit of a base on the back. And that's what my alternative would have been to this if this hadn't worked. And it came out pretty well. On this one, it wasn't a problem threading the wires because it's actually not in his hand. It's actually laying on top of it and it's just kind of covered up with some hot glue. And I could still do that with this. That is definitely a possibility. But I kind of want to see if I can do this. I kind of want to see if I can actually make this work. And I'm stubborn, so there's that. It would be really cool. I mean, right? It would be cool if this worked. That'd be awesome. Okay. I'm going to put this in there to keep it open while I wait for, while I change bits. It is amazing to me that I cannot get that hole the way that I want it. There we go. Okay. It's a little off center. Okay, well maybe we'll move this hand anyway. It looks a little weird. Okay, I might have to do that. Let's just see if we can widen it out a little bit. Now it's finally staying open at least. That's good. That's something. Put this guy in there. Okay. Start this dude going. Oops. I am curious to see if anybody actually has tried this in their crafting. I haven't really seen any. I've seen sort of like, you know, people who just made torches out of like you know, torches that stood on the ground out of tea lights, but they literally never took the stuff out of the tea lights. They just literally just put some paint on top of a tea light and called it a torch. But with the amount of cool stuff that's out there now, it's like, why wouldn't you try to do this, right? It's just too cool not to. But it is kind of finicky, for sure. But a little patience pays off. There we go. That's feeling pretty good. And you can see he's getting wobbly because the arm is hot. So we're going to let that sit in there for a second. Okay. I think I want to put the wires through and then run them down the side here and into his cloak. I think that's probably the best bet. We'll see. So now, yeah, I got a little straightened out too. That's good. We'll go like that. That's gotta be cool. And I might shorten this. I'll shorten this a little bit afterwards. Don't have to do that right now. I do have to disconnect the battery though, because I need to feed those wires through his hand, through his white knuckle grip. One through there. Gosh, I just don't know why I can't find this hole then. There it is. There's the other one. No, or not. Come on, baby. Let's go. There you go. Okay. Then, gotta put this little puppy in there. Not a puppy. That would be terrible to do to a puppy. Put this like that, and like this like that. Like that. There we go. You know what? I'm even going to try to put it straight through there so you don't really see them. Ooh, that's kind of cool. That's something new. Okay, so now I'm going to put some hot glue in there, and I think the way I'm going to do that is like this. Because I don't want to try to get a big glob on there. Let's put some in there. I'll get off the excess there a little bit. And once this hot glue is sort of stuck, I'm going to trim off the excess, or just pull it off. I might not have held it enough. Might have to put a little bit more on there. Okay, hold that in place for a second. I think the staff is going to look better than the other one. And when it's all done, we just got to get those little hairs off of the hot glue. That's always with the hot glue, the hairs. Hairs everywhere. Small price to pay though. And we're going to reinforce this with some super glue too, just to hold that wire in place a little bit better. I'm not happy with these tweezers. They're not particularly good at grabbing things. Try these. Yeah, we're definitely going to use some super glue on here. Actually, I think I'm going to need some more hot glue on there, because it ain't really holding it where it is. I think it's just a matter of getting it into the cavity there, and then once we get that, it'll be good. But it's easier said than done because it's so small. Let's try from the bottom here. Getting there. It's definitely getting there. A lot of this we can hide with some paint too. I mean, on this one, there's whole globs of hot glue in his hand, and you can't tell. But I do like to not have little hairy bits hanging off, because that's no good. Alright, I think that's pretty good for now. Now what we gotta do is let's test our battery again, just to make sure it's okay. Or test our LED again. Pretty sure the battery's fine. Good, still works. Alright, so now we're going to take these little guys, and I think I want to drill through his cloak. Yeah, that's an easy little drill. Well, I say it's easy, but you know, we'll find out. Definitely want to be careful when I do that. And I think I can do a different bit. Use a little baby bit. probably should have drilled that hole before I put the staff in there, but, well, too late now. So we're going to have to make it work. Get this out of the way. And use a battery to hold those wires away. And I'm going to try to drill kind of parallel to his arm. Right, looks pretty good. It's nice too because that'll be in shadow. Like we can paint that whole area black, which is good. It'll hide a lot of sins. Getting there. I'm just always afraid to push on these minis and break them. So I think I need to go farther down. Can I get through? Nope. And you can see this is wobbly. I'm gonna have to do this over again anyway, so you know what, to be safe, I'm gonna take it out. Pretty good. I'm gonna leave the drill in there so it doesn't go home. Leave the drill in there so it doesn't close up again, and I'm gonna have a refreshing drink. So while we wait for that to cool, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe. I kind of assume that whoever's on right now has subscribed, so thank you for that. Also check out Terraino, which is my modular 3D terrain system that you build out of Dollar Tree foam board. It's pretty cool if I do say so myself. And there is a free manual that you can get at GameGearMaster.com to make your own set. And all you need to do is buy the supplies, read the manual. So yeah, and it's pretty easy to do, surprisingly enough. It took a little while to figure out how to do it, for me, but it's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. So, and as always, if you get it and you have questions, yeah, just get in touch. Okay, so I think that's probably good. Cool. I'm gonna clean out some of this glue. I think I'm gonna do this slightly differently this time. I think what I'm gonna do is feed these wires through for the staff first, all the way through the stuff, the two holes that I've made. And then feed the staff through after I dip it in some hot glue. There's one. And I'm going to dip it in hot glue because that'll ensure that the hot glue gets into the hand, inside the hand, which is what I want. I want that to be inside, and that was a problem I had. I seated the staff first before, before actually getting some hot glue in there. There we go. And now we gotta see if we can get through that other hole there. That might be a little bit more difficult. We'll see. Yeah, it's a tough turn there. Oh, there he goes. Nice. Now let's see if we get as lucky on the other one. Come on, little fella. There you go. I think it's close. I feel like I see it coming outside there. There it is. Hey, look at that. Nice. Okay. There we go. So that is rough fit in there. Now I'm going to put a decent amount of hot glue on the end of this, and I'll have to clean it off later, but I don't really care. I just want to make sure it gets seated properly. There, it feels a lot better already. Oh. Oh man, it's already dried. Alright, well, we're going to try that again. Oh, I love hot glue, but sometimes it's tough. Of course, the trick is to not break these wires or the LED. Come on, baby. You can do it. I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pre-glue the wires onto the staff so I don't have to worry about both when I put it in there. You can definitely see it's going to keep it in place though, which is good. But what we're going to do is we are going to wire these in place with some super glue. You know what? We're going to twirl it around, make life easy. Hopefully that's going to be enough to hold it in place. Let's see here. I want to make sure it doesn't get crimped. I think the super glue is dry. Okay. Yeah, that's not going to work. Not sure. Oh, maybe I do that. go like this. Put some glue on there. Pull it through really quick. Yep. Okay, that's not terrible. I do want to see if I can get that wire to stick on there a little bit better. And then we can take this off of here. It should come off pretty easily. Yeah. And run it down. Nice. That's going to do well. That's not terrible at all. Okay, good. Now we just got to see about getting it attached to there. I do wish that that was on there a little better. I wish that wire was flush. I might have a solution though. See that in a second. Nice, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's see if we can't get that wire flush to there. It's gonna be a little tough. I'm gonna try with this and see how that goes. I want to make sure it doesn't run down the staff and onto here though, because the glue will make that white and fog up. So I don't want to make. I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Hoping that super glue holds more to plastic than it does to metal. Then when I pull off these tweezers, yeah, looks like it. Good. Gonna do the same thing down here. Just want to really make sure that's dry though. Oh, okay. Let's see if we can get a little bit tighter on there. You know what I think I'm going to do? I have some tweezers that'll stay clamped. Those, because that way I don't sit there and hold it the whole time. There. Okay. Oh, actually it looks pretty good now. Okay. I think I'm just going to let that sit for a little bit. While I wait, I will try the LED again, because I've been fiddling with it and I want to make sure it's still good. Better to find out now than later. Oh, I wish I had a better way to do this. Yeah, good. Okay, cool. Now, do I try to do another hole here? That'd be kind of cool. Why don't I try to do that? Be a pain in the neck, but, you know, why not? Let's try it. What the hell? It's funny, it feels like the beans have a crust on them, and I guess that's the primer. Because once you get through it, oh, there you see, now we went through. Okay, so now, I can feel my fingers stuck to this, and I want to make sure I don't pull the wire off. Okay, good. I should probably wait for everything to dry, but meh. Got things to do. I want to paint this thing. Oh, that was pretty much exactly where I wanted it. Okay, well, I thought that's it for a second. And I'm probably going to make this hole a little bit bigger because it's going to be a pain in the neck to get those in there. Otherwise. Okay, we're getting there. Making some progress. This guy's doing all right. While I'm waiting for this, I can actually run the center lead. I may want to do it a little off-center. Actually, I'm going to wait to run that lead until I know exactly where this guy's going to sit. That's the mistake I made last time. I did the lead that's going to go in the middle here. And I ran it and I hot glued it down, and I did that way before I did this part, and it was not a smart move. I should have waited. Okay, I'm going to try a bigger bit. I may even go a size bigger than this. I think I will, because, well, I'll try to feed it in first and see. If I can feed them through, then job done. But if it's going to be a real pain and I can't get them in there, then I may hedge my bets by making a bigger hole. Alright, let's see what we can do. And this could be, I might have already lost, put it that way. It might just be impossible to get through that hole, but we'll see. I mean, I have an option. I could do something from the other end and then feed it through using something else. And I may end up doing that. But let me first, oh, I already know what I can do if this doesn't work. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to bother. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a piece of filament and put it through from the other side. Let's see if I can use that to guide it through. Where is my filament? Where is my filament? Maybe the LED stuff. I have some really very small fiber optic filament. Here it is. But you can use fishing line with this too. I just don't have really thin fishing line, so I'm going to use this. Feed this through this way. Feed it through that way. There we go. And what I will probably end up doing is putting a little bit of super glue on the end to hold in place while I pull it through. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. And obviously this is going to mess up the soldering job on the end of this wire, but that's okay because we're not going to rely on that for connection later on. I almost put too much on there. a second. Okay, I'm going to gently try to put that through there. Keep your fingers crossed. Oh, came off. Alright, well, hold on. We might actually be able to use this still for something. Actually, it's still kind of useful. Yeah, look at that. It actually is like a ramp. Cool. Let's do the other one. Straighten it out a little bit. Try without it. Let's try to see if we can get that in there. Oh, maybe we drill like this. Maybe we push it through like this. See, I'm betting it's, yeah, it's stuck to the side. I can see it. Right, okay. Yeah, there's a little gap there, and it's getting stuck. It's not meeting up with the second half of the hole, which is a tough nut to crack because just gotta kind of fiddle with it until it gets there. Take it out again. Well, we're doing pretty well. I mean, we've gotten it almost all the way. We just need this one last little wire to go through. And then I think we can do a lot with paint to hide the little bits that we do see. Hey, there we go. There we go. Alright, so let's test it again just to make sure. I know I do this a lot, but the worst thing is to go through all this and then there's something wrong with something, you know? It's just, that's just not fun. Okay, still works. Good. Alright, so I think this little bit of wire up here I'm going to hold off on fixing for now. I think I'm going to go ahead and start attaching this guy to the base, because that is the last big step, and then after that it's cosmetics, making things look nice, and yeah, finishing this dude up. So considering this is the second shot at this, and we're doing a lot of different things that I did not have to do with this one, I think we're doing pretty well. The only thing I don't like so far, that I'm not happy with, is that wire there, but I think we can figure out some stuff to do with that. And I can see this has popped out, the wire there, but I'm gonna hold off on that. Let's see about hooking all this stuff together, and now we need to sort of figure out where this is gonna sit on the base. That will determine a lot about where the leads will be for the wires. I can already tell that this one's going to have to be cleaned up a little bit. Oh, we should try this base too. We should test it to see if it's making good contact. So we're going to take our battery. Yeah, so I basically have to poke a hole on this to put the other lead on there, which is fine. I can always move the hole. It doesn't really matter all that much. I just need a little bit of wire. This is kind of temporary anyway. Where's my push pin? There it is. Oh, so much hot glue on here. There we go. Good as new. Put it on here to push through. And let's put it over here. What the heck? See how that goes. Okay, fold this over. This is not the final way it's going to sit, but it's just enough to test it. My bet is we're going to need to rub a little bit of the hot glue off the sides here. So here's the two contact points. We have the ring of metal on the outside, which is this connector here. And then we have the inside piece, which is this guy here. And we're going to just see with the battery in it. The way it's going to sit in the compartment, just like that. And to make it easy, I'm going to use a different LED to test because holding those leads is kind of a pain in the neck while you're doing other stuff. Let's see. Oh, and I also have these that I can use. Ooh, let's do that. Nah, you know, I don't even need them. LEDs. Can't remember which one's which. I think it's going to be this way, but I could be wrong. Let's try the other way. Could be wrong. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that works. Cool. So our base works, our LED works, and now we just got to put the two together. Good sign. Good sign. Good sign. Good sign. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Mini. Put the Mini between the connectors here, the connection points, and then we're going to lay them down in front and behind the Mini so they don't add to the thickness of the base. But what we're going to do first is we're going to shorten these guys considerably. And I'm going to use my little razor blade here. Okay, so then it's time to see if we can scrape off the insulation here. You can do this with your utility knife too. I just happen to not know where it is right now. And I'm just going to scrape this off. Start to seeing copper and then roll it over and do it again. Roll it over, do it again. Come on, stay there. I don't want that side, I want that side. I want the side that still has insulation on it. Come on, you can do it. There you go. Well, maybe not. There we go. Okay, so we got the insulation over that one. Let's kind of twirl it together because they are individual little microscopic fibers in there. Not microscopic, but I mean, they might as well be as far as I'm concerned because I can barely see them. Okay, so we got our 2 leads. Now normally, if we were doing this like a professional would, and somebody who does electronics all the time, which is definitely not me, we would solder these onto there. Why would we solder them? Well, because it's a metal-to-metal connection, and it keeps the connection from oxidizing. The 2 pieces of metal touch each other, you get oxidation, and all of a sudden the connection gets kind of bad. Well, we're going to get metal on metal because we're going to twirl it around these leads. That's step 1. We can get that's solved. But we can't stop unless we do another step is oxidation. We have to make sure that oxygen doesn't get to that connection point. But instead of solder, we're going to use hot glue. Why? Because hot glue does a pretty good job at this stuff, actually, surprisingly enough. And that's what I used for this, and yeah, it worked pretty well. So, let's see here. I think I'm going to move this guy over to here. And I gotta remember, I think it's the black one is this guy. Let's just make sure before we go any farther here. Yeah, cool. Okay, well, we're gonna shorten this lead out a little bit. This. And then we're gonna carefully see if we can't twirl this around it. I got too short. Oh, I remember what I did last time. I put a little bit of tape on it to keep it in place. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, you really can't twirl this very well. But I can take a little piece of tape and use that to hold it in place until get a good hot glue seal around the entire thing. Okay. Now we're going to test this before we put it down permanently, because once we hot glue this down, it's down to stay. And we'll make sure that's on there pretty good. Let's try this other lead and see. Okay, so that's not a good connection, so we need to do that again. Okay, better to know now. This is the toughest part of this, I think, is to make these connections and to make them stick well. What if I make a little hook out of it? What if I go like this? Turn it. So it has something to grab onto. Like that. Let's try that out and see. And maybe lay it in there. Yeah, there we go. Already liking that better. Where are they? Right here. Ugh. I can never find stuff. It's just absolutely amazing. No, you're making... Oh, because on the bottom, yeah, okay. Okay, so let's put that underneath there. And make sure that's a little out of the way. You know, I think I'm just gonna try... No, I'm not gonna do that. Let's go with that. Down. There we go. One done. So that dry really well. And I'll go ahead and do the other one. What if I go like this, bend it over, that through, and lay it down. How's that do? Okay. Pretty good. There's a room for the dude. Just barely. Yep. Well, should probably put him this way. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Alright, this is not totally happy yet, obviously. Here's the problem. Let's see. Huh. Okay, good. It is wrapped around there. That's good. Let's see about that. I think I will put a little bit of masking tape on there just to hold that place. Oh, broke it. Let's take it out. Yeah, so this is the part that I wish I had a better solution to, because it is sort of a pain in the neck. And loop it back over. Okay, let's make sure this fits well. It does. Cool. Okay, so now control these wires together a little bit. I don't really care if they're totally under the base, but I kind of want to have them be close to being under the base. Alright, so he's going to sit like that. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Now all we got to do is make sure that that's where we want them, and I think it is, so let's attach them. Ooh, missed the back there, got hot. Okay, good. And then while that's doing its thing, I'm going to grab some dirt. Might as well put that on now with a hot glue in one shot. Glue hides so many wonderful things, sins included. Okay. Oh, why can't I find things? It's all the time. Okay. And let that dry a little bit. Starting to look like a mini with a cool light coming out of it. And once we get this dry, we will, I think we'll put a little line of tape around the outside there. And I'll probably put some more hot glue on top of this in a little second here. Okay. Cut off the excess. I want to leave a little bit because I want to wrap it around the bottom here. Gonna wrap it underneath. Just like that. And I think I'm going to give it a little bit more hot glue just to sort of marry this masking tape to the dirt parts. That's fine. And I may end up cutting. I may end up cutting some of this underneath there too. And now the nice thing is I can put some hot glue on around the outside here and get some dirt on that. Whoops. Cool. So I'm going to plop this down here in the back. All right. Pretty happy. Looking like a mini base. Let that dry for a little bit and then we'll put some primer on it. I know it's already primed gray, but I always prime everything black. I just like that better. It's just not as obvious if you've missed pieces or little bits of paint here and there. All right, let's see. I'll kind of see a ring around that. I don't really like that. If I still see when I go to finish, then I'll worry about it more. So I'm going to put, I'm not going to put the adhesive side in. I'm going to actually put it this way and then kind of crimp it around because I don't want to get it stuck and then accidentally pull off the bulb. That's just a little insurance for when I paint. Okay, get a little cruddy bowl. I think I have a cruddy bowl somewhere. Come here, cruddy bowl. There's a cruddy bowl. Now I'm going to do the black for the figure first, and then I'm going to do for the base, because for the base I'm going to add some glue. So I'm going to do the figure first because I don't want glue on the figure. And I get pretty sloppy with this. So I'm going to go ahead and prime this tonight and then hold off on the painting part for off screen, because that could be another couple hours because I'm a really slow painter. But this will become a tutorial video, I think, too. So you'll see me paint this on the tutorial video. Now that I've kind of worked out some of the kinks, I'd sure like to know if there's anything you want to see in regards to electrified minis or any other kind of stuff that you want me to sort of do some research on and try to figure out how to solve. I will say that I find that most of the hobby for me is finding interesting problems and solving them and then getting them on the table and having my players go, wow, that's pretty cool. So the more of those kind of opportunities I have, great, the better. Okay, so now I'm going to add some glue to there. Oh, I have some glue already. And this I really glob on because it'll keep that dirt on there really well. It'll hide a lot of the wrinkles and maybe some of the bad seams. Just like that. And I'll touch at the bottom a little bit too. All right. So we have one mini ready for final paint. Let's see if we can get this off so you can see it. You know what, I'm not even going to risk it. But here's our mini. Looking pretty good. So that's going to be it for today. Thanks for sticking around. And next time we will be doing... I'm not actually sure what we're going to be doing next time. Isn't that interesting? It might be Terraino related. I think it actually probably will be, unless I come up with an idea, a different idea. So till next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you around, and happy crafting.